Would you believe me if I said I had my new favorite woodworking tool right here in my hand? Well, I don't. What I have here is my favorite 3 new tools. When I was a little kid, I loved pocket knives. I had a couple dozen of them because you could just go down to the flea market and buy up cool old folding knives for a couple of dollars. And I would always find these knives that had multiple blades of different shapes and sizes. And I would think, oh, that's perfect. I've got a big blade for big stuff and a small blade for detail stuff. I was 12, what did I know? I mean, I mostly took these knives like fishing and out in the woods and stuff. I pretty much only ever used the largest blade, and I never really gave any thought to why there were different size blades and different shape blades on these old folding knives. And as I got older, I got into multi-tools like this Leatherman. I love these. If you've got a good knife and a good set of pliers in your pocket, you can get yourself out of some very tight spots. But recently, I started thinking about those old knives I used to carry. I mean, why are there all these folding knives in different configurations with different shaped blades? Well, it turns out that the multi-tool isn't such a new idea. Just having a selection of blades in the same knife will do a lot of tasks. My grandfather probably carried a knife like this. I bet my dad did too. We've forgotten them a little. But as woodworkers, we might want to remember these old knives. They might be a secret weapon in our toolbox. Now, when I went out researching folding knives, I came across this little one. It's called the Old Timer, and that's corny as hell. But look at the tools. You get a big blade with a slim point, a smaller blade in a totally different shape, and an awl. And the whole package is so small you hardly notice it in your pocket. But why do I think a knife like this is good for a woodworker? Well, let's look a little closer. The big blade is called a clip point because it looks like the tip was literally clipped off. This gives you a slender blade with a sharp point, and it's good for all kinds of general shop stuff. Straight out of the box, it's sharp enough to whittle this hard maple, and you can also open your mail and cut string. This is a good all-around utility knife. Now, that clip point is super sharp, and you have to be careful, but it has some advantages. For instance, you can lay your index finger right along the spine of that blade and use it like a depth stop. If you want to open a box and not cut the contents, you can slice right through the tape and nothing else. No danger to your stuff. Now, a good pocket knife is fine, but this is a woodworking channel, and it's on blade number 2 that this knife actually gets interesting for woodworkers. They call this blade a sheepsfoot blade, and I guess shepherds really did use these to trim sheep hooves. But when I saw this blade, I thought, that looks an awful lot like a marking knife or a chip carving knife. These are both specialty woodworking tools, and they have a specific geometry that's very similar to the sheepsfoot blade. They have a rounded tip with a point that's in line with the edge. These features make it a great little carving knife, because I can get my thumb right on the spine for extra leverage and control, and I don't have to worry about the tip. For detail work, I can also flip the blade around and use my thumb as leverage to pull it towards me. Now notice how I'm holding my thumb here. It's down, out of the path of the blade, and I'm using very short, controlled strokes, so I'm not going to cut myself. I use a lot of these round tenons in my woodwork, and this blade makes it very easy to trim those down for a nice, snug fit. I also want to use this blade as a marking knife, so I honed an extra fine edge on my oil stones. When I get this blade up against my square, that wide, flat bevel registers securely against the rule, and it's easy to strike a line. Some people say you need a special single bevel knife for marking, but I've been using this little Stanley folding knife for years. And even with 2 bevels and a narrow blade, it works fine. The heavier sheepsfoot blade is easier to handle, and it leaves a deeper line with fewer strokes. Here, the sheepsfoot blade made the line to the right, and it's much easier to feel with my thumb. I can also use this blade for all kinds of trimming and carving tasks, and the point will still stay sharp for accurate marking. Now, having 2 blades is very nice, but what really sold me on this knife is that it also comes with an awl. And the maker calls this a punch blade. I guess it's for leather work, and it's a very clever design. They've taken a flat piece of steel and rolled it slightly, which gives it the same function as a traditional thicker awl, but also gives you a little lip so you can grab it with your thumbnail and open it. I'll be honest, this tool was kind of disappointing right out of the box. The tip just wasn't very sharp. Maybe it's good enough for leather work, but I doubt it. No problem. I used some 220 grit sandpaper to grind the leading edge much finer. Then I rotated the blade and took away material back behind the tip until I had a needle-sharp point. Then I took it to my oil stones and honed all those edges. It just took a few minutes to get the geometry just right, and the way the blade curves out of the handle means that it's easy to grip with a finger sitting on the back for control. With a sharp point, that rolled geometry allows the blade to really bore into the wood. This is white oak, and the tip digs in fast. This is also a non-locking knife, and it will fold up on you until you get used to it. You can see me struggling a little bit here, but I quickly learned the correct angle to keep it open. I'm always digging around for my awl when I'm at the bench, so having one built into my bench knife is convenient. I'm a lot less likely to lose it. So look, this is a cheap knife that's made in China. If you are a knife connoisseur, you might not be super impressed by this blade. Me personally, I'm not such a huge knife guy anymore. If something has a good geometry and holds an edge, then I'm happy. I picked this one up because I was interested in exploring these old folding knife styles, and this Stockman knife was $17 on Amazon. I'll put a link to it down in the description. But this specific knife really isn't the point. The point is that as woodworkers, we probably need to go back and rethink these cool old pocket knives with all their different blade geometries. Even if you're a hand tool woodworker, we tend to get very excited still about new technology and fancy alloy steels and tight machining tolerances and stuff like that. We're nerds. But, you know, sometimes it's really worthwhile to go back and just think about old forms of tools. A lot of these tools get to be old because they stuck around, and they stuck around because they worked. This style of knife works, and if you want something higher quality than this one, there are so many of these on eBay and on knife collecting sites, and even at tag sales. You can pick them up for next to nothing, and they have a lot of uses at the bench. And hey, if you enjoyed this video, it was brought to you by my patrons on Patreon. They're the ones who make all of these videos possible. And if you'd like to join that incredible community of craftspeople, I've got a link down in the description. But a lot of my viewers have gotten in touch and said, hey, I would like to support what you do, I'd like to contribute, but I'm not really into the Patreon thing. Could you offer me an alternative? Well, this week we are offering an alternative. I've just opened up channel memberships, so you can join this channel and become a supporter right here on YouTube. When you become a supporter, you get access to custom emojis and badges that I had commissioned by the incredible Iron Gordon, who is my favorite graphic designer on YouTube. You should also check out his channel. It's fantastic. And if you contribute at the second tier, you can also get early access to videos. We're also going to start opening up the community tab here on the platform, maybe posting pictures or doing short video stories. We're not sure yet, but we're going to start exploring that and seeing how we can bring more content to the people who want to be here as members. So if any of that interests you, go ahead and click that join button right under the video. You can pick the support level that works for you and start enjoying some early benefits. And it's a huge help. It's going to help us make more better videos. And that's what we're here to do. So anyway, whether you're a supporter or just a viewer, I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for watching.